Welcome back. This time we're doing part 18 of the OC story, where I improvise my way through a story based on characters you guys helped me to create, and you guys vote on what you want to happen next. Alright, let's pick up roughly where we left off. Our story continues on the Coronation Day. Everyone wakes up in the capital city of Velnia, and it is heaving with people and buzzing with life. The coronation is set to take place later that evening, and the whole day is a bustle of events and people and life. Ever since Blue Eyes flicked open, Darrow the assassin was visibly nervous. Visibly to Erasmus, at least, who knew him incredibly well by this time. The assassin hoped no one else could spot it, and truly they couldn't. If he'd been brave enough to ask, Erasmus would have confirmed this, but of course he wasn't. He was nervous about so many things. About going out and wearing fine clothes, about being around so many people, about going to the palace, about trying to break down into the dungeons, about what information they may find from the assassins, and, stupidly he felt, about what to do with his hair, how to hold himself, how could he pass himself off as some sort of rich, royal almost. Erasmus, who of course had many years of being a royal, smiled at him, and tried to be incredibly sweet, helping Darrow to fasten his buttons and swirl the lace mask around his throat and his face, covering all of the terrible burn marks the assassin still had on his skin. He then braided the assassin's hair. Darrow was very worried about it, having never done anything with his hair beyond tying it back. Eerie brushed through the gentle, pale hair, and slowly began to fiddle with it, twirling it into braids and shapes. It became quite an elaborate detail, all the way around the back of his head and dangling across one shoulder. Darrow was amazed when he saw himself in the mirror. He kept looking, and he'd never really looked at himself that much before. But now, as he stood there in all his... well, there really was no other word for it. After all, they had earned the coin. His finery. He couldn't get over it. He looked like a different person. That gave him pause, and a good one. He felt relaxed for the first time in a long while. Surely no one would recognize him. Not today. Not looking like this. He stared into the mirror for a little while longer, and then sat down on the bed to pull his shoes on and watch as Erasmus got dressed too. He got dressed carefully and slowly with well-practiced hands, and Darrow could not help staring. The prince was stunning. As far as the assassin thought, he was the most beautiful thing in the entire world. And as he pulled dark hair up across his face and twiddled it back into more braids, and he slid the mask, tying it around the back of his head, and stood there with that low cut back to the long flowing robes, the assassin was speechless, staring and staring. Erasmus shot him a wink and a smile. They headed to the palace together. The courtyard was huge, vast, and full of music and dancing, stalls and food. The place was packed and incredible. Darrow had never seen anything quite like it. He'd walked by the palace at a distance a few times, but even from here, going through the gates and looking up, you couldn't see all of it. You had to turn your head this way and that, crane your neck to see even the highest towers. The place was enormous, all marble and stone and gold detailing, statues and high windows and elaborate glass in stains of different colours. It was a big looming shadow to Erasmus, dark and sinister and beckoning him back. He decidedly looked away from it. The courtyard, however, was full of life, bustling. Half the city seemed to be there already. There were stalls selling everything you could wish for, memorabilia of the coronation, little crowns, figurines of the royals, plates and glasses and mugs and crockery, even things embroidered with the royals' initials. They were selling cards and portraits, pictures, rugs, t-shirts, anything you could imagine. And then there was other things as well. food, smells, everything you could possibly imagine, from sweet to savoury and back again. There was a cart pulled by 2 cows with a vast barrel on the back, churning and churning away at milk, serving it as milkshake beverages in various flavours, from strawberry to chocolate to vanilla, and all sorts of combinations. There were carts selling juices squeezed from exotic fruits from far-flung places. There were tiny little taverns popping up, with little pop-up stools that you could sit upon, or just sit on the ground on various different cushions and pillows and throws. There was a little stage where a band was playing, and other acts were warming up down the sides. There were other street performers as well, musicians playing by themselves on all the corners, and everywhere you went it was just full of noise and smoke from the cooking, and people laughing and chattering, and children running around, waving streamers, flags everywhere, colours, noises, sounds, colours, noises, sounds, absolutely everywhere. The pair of them wandered at first, walking inside, following other fancily dressed people and more common-looking people, just going round and around, making sure they had seen everything, putting mental little pin marks in various places they want to go back to. Erasmus led them immediately over to a vast stall selling a variety of baked goods. He turned to Darrow, deliberately turning his back to one of the people on the stall, and whispered quietly, asking Darrow to order for them, because he recognised one of the people on the stall from the kitchens. Darrow nodded, squeezing his hand, and Erasmus went immediately off to go and check out one of the street performers, who was juggling 5 knives at once. Darrow came back with the sweets Erasmus had offered a few moments later, and they ate them as they walked past people balancing dogs on their heads, and someone who was doing tricks on the back of a pony. They sat on a patch of grass and watched the musicians on the main stage taking their bow as a second band came to take over from them. As the music picked up, Erasmus leaned back and sat against Darrow's arms, and they watched as the musicians played on for another hour or so. As this group was exiting the stage, and the conductor was inviting the next group on, something caught the assassin's eyes, just briefly. He could have sworn for just a second or two that he saw a dark hooded figure standing at the far end of the courtyard, and he caught a pair of eyes watching him through the shadows. But then they were gone. He blinked, looking around, but he never spotted them again. Deciding it may have been anything at all, and not to spoil the day by worrying about it, he put it to the back of his mind for the moment. They got up after a little while longer, and decided to go for another stroll around and see if there was something else to do. A young girl called out to them. She had fluffy blue hair and a bright pink dress with puffy sleeves, and she sat on the floor, offering fortune-telling. This character is actually the consequences of you guys' actions. So last time in part 17, I asked you to choose, without knowing what you were voting for, whether this unnamed thing was going to happen before or after the coronation ball. And you guys picked before. There was a lot of people in my DMs asking me what it was. I was not telling though, but now we're going to find out what you voted for. So, it's before the coronation. Let's find out what happens. The girl had fluffy blue hair tied up in 2 large ponytails, a bright pink dress, and she sat down on a tapestry of swirling dragons with her legs crossed and her arms reaching towards them. She called, waving brightly. She says that she was taught to read people's futures and fortunes by a dear friend's ghost. I have a special deal on today. If you pay just 2 coin, I will read both your fortunes. What do you say? Would you like to know what the future has in store for you both? Erasmus was delightedly entertained. Darrow was sceptical, but amused by the idea. So they sit down on the edge of her tapestry, and, after paying 2 coins, they hold out their palms as instructed. All right, let me look at you first. Oh, interesting. The girl took Darrow's hand first, and studied his palm closely. He could almost feel the tip of her nose brush his skin. She studied him for a long, long time, and then looked up, her smile still bright. She said, Your lifeline runs deep and pale. It burns with a light you will soon learn to embrace. My advice to you, when Hepzibah offers you her hand, take it. Bemused, but not altogether thinking it was a waste of coin, the assassin sat back to watch Erasmus take his turn. When the fortune teller looked at Erasmus's palm, she took a long, long intake of breath, and her face changed at once. "Oh, sweetie pie," she showed them, pointing with her long, painted fingernail. "Your lifeline has changed. It's been altered. See how it is fractured at the end. Not shortened, just broken." And then she said the words Erasmus hoped would never come true. "You will suffer. Your death will be the worst and last moment of your life. I wish I had advice to give you, sweet pea. It will not be brief, but suffering does not mean the happiness was not happy. And," she looked back down at his palm again, "you are going to be very, very happy just before the end." Erasmus swallowed hard and pulled his palm away from her. Darrow nods, and they both stand. Well, thanks. That was, fun, I guess. Have a good day." "You too." She waved at them, a little sadder this time as they walked away from her blanket on the ground. Darrow took the prince's hand in his at once. "She was probably just spouting nonsense, right? I don't even know anyone named Hapsib what's it. And I don't know. It's just entertainment, right? They like to make you squirm." "Iri?" Erasmus stayed quiet, though. He did give the assassin's hand a grateful squeeze in his own. Soon it was getting to be about that time, and the pair of them headed inside, up the vast steps, and into the palace proper, ready to go and explore and sneak their way down to the dungeons. Erasmus finally spoke as they got through the vast doors, nodded to by some very impressive-looking guards in a big trail down the stairs, and as they stepped into the vast space that had more music playing, chatter, dancing, and wine pouring, Erasmus said very quietly, "I want to leave something for my father. We had our differences, many, many differences, and I cannot say there is a great deal of love lost between us, but he is dead, and he was my king. I feel I should leave something for him." "Do you know where they'll have left his body? Where he's buried?" "Yes. It'll be, well, down the stairs. I suppose on our way to the dungeon, really." "Even better then. We'll do that on the way. You know what you want to leave him?" "I don't know. Perhaps just a word or two. I suppose if I leave anything physical, that could draw questions. Yes. Just seeing him, I think. I would like that. I know we don't have much time, but..." "We've got time for this. Don't worry." "All right. Lead the way, and, let's do this." And so they wind their way through the party and go down through some back doors, down swerving corridors, under the ground, further and further below the palace, beyond the kitchens, and then there they are. It's not huge, the place. It's quiet. Candles are always burning, and it's very clean, always respectfully clean. And the tombs are there. Vast stone tombs, made and carved out of the same marble as the palace itself. Some, the older ones, are actually carved into the walls of this place themselves. Slowly, over the years, more royals have been added. The chamber has been extended. And the newest one, the newest with the cleanest writing, is the king's. Erasmus's father, murdered many, many months ago back on that road in that procession of carriages where the two of them had first met. Well, second met. The assassin nudged the prince forwards. I'll keep watch out here. Go on. Take your time. He kissed the prince gently on the cheek and stood with his back to the room, giving Erasmus the privacy that he desired, and watching, keeping an eye out down the very, very empty corridor and listening. Inside, Erasmus slowly approached his father's tomb. It took longer than he was willing to admit to finally reach out his hand and touch the thing. I am sorry that you had to die like that, Father. I am sorry that I was never the son you wished for. I am sorry that so many things happened. But I am most sorry for the things that never happened. I am sorry I never got to see you truly pleased in me. I am sorry you never got to see me truly happy. I'm sorry you never got to meet Darrow, much as I would never, ever have introduced him to you. I'm sorry that I failed you. I'm sorry that I've fallen in love with the man who may have killed me and you. But I'm most sorry that I'm not sorry at all. I'm not sorry that I am happy. And I'm not sorry that a big part of the reason why is because you're not here anymore. I don't hate you. I never hated you. I just couldn't bear you, just as you couldn't bear me. I'm going to live as happy a life as I can, Father, away from everything we used to be. And if it means that my name gets smeared in the history books as the one who killed you, then so be it. You and I know the truth, Father. And I hope one day you will see that if I had stayed, I would have been long gone by now. And I hope you have enough love for me somewhere out there that you are at least glad that I am still alive now. I wish I could say I miss you, but I don't. But I am sorry for how you died. I hope you're at peace. Goodbye, Father. He left the burial chamber, the tomb with so many royals, so many other kings, his grandfather and his father, the place that he and his older brothers may have been laying too. And he joined hands once again with the assassin, and they continued on, deeper, towards the dungeons. Not half an hour later, they had descended into the depths and the darkness, carefully sneaking away from some guards standing sentry, and found their way into the bowels of the place. And there they were, the assassins, sitting slumped on benches in the far corner of the jail cell. Erasmus hung back. Darrow stepped slowly into the light. I don't got much time, and neither do you by the looks of it. So tell me what I want to know, and we can make this peaceful. We've all got a fistful of aces up our sleeve. You can trust me. Alright? Two faces peer up at him through the gloom, both thin, tired, stretched to the edge of breaking point as they blink at the assassin. You come down here talking market tongue to us. One of them, hunched over on the bench, looks up, Pale, dark eyes catch the light, mismatched, and long pointed ears show both the assassin and the prince that this was once an elf, now withdrawn back into himself. You're one of us, right? What you want? Should get out of here, else you'll end up behind bars with the rest of us. Harry watched the two of them with slow breaths. The third one's dead, right? Executed. Course, said the other one from the floor, lying there, sprawled as though waiting for something to fall and bury him. He got the king, didn't he? So he had to go. We heard him, getting dragged through the halls. They hanged him not 2 days later. Apparently he swung for half an hour before it broke. Poor blighter. Quietly, in the shadows down the corridor out of their sight, Prince Erasmus shuddered. What's another Acer doing down here asking us all them questions, though? What do you want? The elf was peering at Darrow through the gloom. I want to know who hired you. Who's responsible for it, really? Don't you think we've been asking each other that for months now? Well, you're still locked in here, so I assume you haven't told them anything. Of course we haven't told them nothing. Do you think we are? Fucking blunters. That ain't what we do. You should know that. Or are you a smug little blunter making coin off everyone else? You ain't a damn malt, are ya? Malt and a blunter? No, I ain't no blunt. I ain't no malt. I ain't stole nothing from no one. I just gotta know who did this. And then what? The elf stretched and rolled his shoulders. The bones cricked and cracked as he did so. Then what? Go and have a word with him. Tell him they fucked up. Not gonna do nothing, is it? Alright, tell me how you got hired. I picked up a job down the black market. Is that how you got it as well? I got personally hired on. Was minding my business, sitting in a tavern, and get approached. Offered a job. Offered a deal right then and there that night over drinks. Course I take it. Paid up front, good coin too. Then, well, you know the rest. The assassin on the floor groaned and laid his head back. The elf, sitting scrunched on the bed, stared at Darrow with narrowed eyes. I was already one of Lumen's finest men. Done many ace jobs for him before, so of course he hired me on. Must have been Lumen's what hired us all then. Darrow cursed and kicked the ground with his foot. Damn! Couldn't have been someone else, someone who's still fucking here. I expect Lumen's gone into hiding now, has he? After we all royally fucked up. Literally. Ha! The assassin on the floor coughed as he laughed. Yep. Sometimes I reckon being behind bars bit safer than being out there where Lumens can get you. It's not just that, Darrow told them, slowly approaching the bars. His old hideout got burnt down. It's wrecked, destroyed, ruined. Someone ratted him out. He's lost everything. Stock, hideout, everything. And he's pissed. He's looking for whoever's responsible. And he reckons it was one of us lot. One of us lot? Hold on. Hold on. One of us lot. The elf on the bed rose unsteadily to his feet and tiptoed across to balance on the bars opposite Darrow, gripping them with long, pale fingers. It's you, innit? You're the fourth assassin. You're the blunter what blunted out on us. The man on the floor rolled onto his front and rose to his feet, grabbing at the bars to heave himself up and stare Darrow full in the face. You fucking blunter, you got us in this mess. If you'd shown the fuck up when you were supposed to, we could have had a chance of getting away from him. That's not what I'm here to talk to you about. I don't give a rat's fucking ass what you're here to talk to us about. We ain't telling you no more, you fucking blunt. And he spat in Darrow's face. Darrow did not wipe it away. Instead, he stared at the two of them with narrow, dark eyes. I ain't here to fight you. I ain't here to tell you that ain't fucking true. I'm here to get information. Could help you guys out. I gotta backtrack, work out who hired all of us, who paid Lumens, who's responsible for all this shit. Oh yeah, and how's that gonna help us? Because if we can find out who hired the hit in the first place, who wanted to kill the royals, maybe they might go a little bit easier on the guys what never actually got round to killing them at all. Darrow sighed. Look, just tell us anything you know. Anything at all. I swear if I can help get you out, I will. The two cellmates looked at one another, and then, almost because they'd had a lack of things to do recently, they did start speaking. They talked about how the assassination itself was just a small part of a big plan, but no one really knew what the big plan was. They said Lumens had been cooperating with other assassins, other criminals running all the way through to Belgoth, the neighbouring country. Something big was coming. The two of them were supposed to be on another mission, killing another two royals, young girls, somewhere on the road between Belgoth and their Drevdelania. But of course they wouldn't get round to that now. Something big was happening, something huge, but they didn't know what. As their little information drew to a close, Darrow shifted, turning to look back down the hallway, checking for any signs of coming guards and giving Eerie a little smile. Hold on a minute. I know your fucking face. The elf assassin was grabbing at the bars now, reaching through, thrashing with his arm, trying to grip onto Darrow's front. I know you. Oh, you fucking blunter. Darrow frowned at once, thinking back to that night when he'd been sent to assassinate Prince Erasmus. You can't have seen me. I never saw you. But then, as he properly looks at this man's face in the light, he realizes they don't know each other from that night at all. This was the man he left alive 5 years ago, who cast the magic that scarred him and Eerie for the rest of their lives. You fucking blunt! The man reaches through the bars again, gripping at Darrow, grabbing him by the hair, pulling half his mask forwards off his face. Darrow headbutts him through the bars, clanging against his own skin, yelling loudly. Erasmus runs down the corridor to try to break things up, seizing the assassin's hands and pulling him backwards, slapping away the clawed nails, digging, driving, trying to get at Darrow. They stepped backwards, further and further, retreating away from the cells as the man shrieked and screamed onwards. Filthy fucking malt! We saw him, perfect target, sitting there, richy posh boy, all by himself. Could have robbed him blind, he'd never have known. Could have made it a swift death too, but no, you just had to step on in, you fucking malt. I hope you spent every coin you got off his corpse, and I hope to fuck they cursed you, you fucking malt, you fucking blah. A door opened on the floor above, and footsteps sounded. Immediately, everyone fell silent. The two inmates retreated back to the far corner of their cell, and meanwhile Darrow and Erasmus, clutching each other, slipped down into the shadows beyond the curling stairs, out of sight of any who would come down them. It was not guards who came down the stairs, though. It was just one set of footsteps. And as the person came to the bottom, holding a small lamplight, They turned and headed down, down towards the imprisoned assassins in their cell. And as Erasmus watched, he recognized them. That is where we are going to leave it for today. But you guys, of course, have a choice to make. So, who was it who came down the stairs? I will give you some choices to choose from. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. So, your choices are these. Was it King Frederick? This will be the oldest brother of Prince Erasmus, the Prince Frederick, who is now the king, the one about to be coronated this day. Is it Sison, the other prince, the second oldest brother? Or is it Sison's wife, Mithalia, mother to Tinny, Princess Augustine? I will let you guys choose. Do you want King Frederick, the oldest prince / now king, Sison, the second oldest prince, or Sison's wife, Mithalia, mother to Tinny? Let me know in the comments down below, and I will see you next time.